So everybody would be fine if we left tomorrow except one country, and that country's name is Israel. That's the reason why Trump can't get out.
It's one of the reasons why Americans are more disapproving of Israel now than ever.
This war is serving nobody's interest other than Israel's.
Time after time in which they've pulled us into their fight.
Now, if you or I said that the war in Iran was launched by Trump for the sake of Israel only and the Gulf state tyrannies that hope to benefit from this, in addition to enriching Trump's own family, and without any benefit from the American people, we would be smeared as anti-Semites and blood libelists. But that's exactly what Trump did in a major interview recently. Glenn Greenwald and Megyn Kelly break that down here. Let's see what they have to say about it. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
There was an admission on the Iran war, which jumped out at me, and it might to you too. Here it is in SOT 7.
We're doing it to help Israel and to help Saudi Arabia and to help Qatar and UAE and, Kuwait and other countries, Bahrain.
It also helps China.
I told them today, I said, we're helping you. And we're helping you in another way because I don't think China wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon either. I said, they're stone cold crazy. You don't need them having a nuclear weapon either.
What did he say?
Well, he's not going to respond too much. He's a pretty cool guy. He's not going to say, oh, gee, that's a good point.
I think he might.
What's he going to do? What a wonderful point.
You think he agreed?
Yeah, I think
that was the impression.
I don't think he wants them to have. No, he would like to see it end. But he's been good about it,
So there it is. I mean, lest there was any doubt, it's the first thing in the answer. We did it to help Israel. We're doing it to help Israel. He named other countries. He has said the world can't have Iran having a nuclear weapon. But just to say that is so controversial, that we're doing it to help Israel. We know that. We've said that many times. And then you get called an anti-Semite. But that's not anti-Semitic. It is a fact. You heard it from the president of the United States himself. He thinks it's also helping some of the Gulf Arab states. Fine. That's not controversial. You can say that. But prior to the president saying it himself explicitly, you weren't allowed to say that other piece of it, or you were called an anti-Semite.
I thought this was a movement that was calling itself America First. And then you have Trump saying, oh, yeah, this war, it's kind of helping us. We don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. But, we're helping Israel get rid of their big enemy. And also, when we talk about these Persian Gulf states, what we mean are Persian Gulf dictatorships, Arab dictatorships that have extreme levels of human rights abuses that we claim to be so offended when they appear in Iran. You think protesters fare any better in Dubai or in Riyadh or in Doha or in Bahrain or Kuwait? No, than Iran? No, they don't.
Point.
Yeah, that's a good point, especially when the two are conflated with Trump coming out and saying, hey, the Iranians push gays off buildings, somehow now being the chief advocate of gay rights within Iran to justify this war too, which he did a few weeks ago when no Shia ever did that, ever. In the course of humanity, no Shia and no Iranians ever did that. They still use that as propaganda. And absolutely true. If, let's say, Nick Fuentes had said this war is all for Israel's benefit, it's not for the benefit of Americans whatsoever, and it's to enrich Trump, then he would be smeared as an anti-Semite. He has been smeared as an anti-Semite for that. When Glenn Greenwald and Dave Smith and Max Blumenthal and Jeffrey Sachs, Jewish critics of Israel, say that, they are smeared as anti-Semites. So to have Trump doing this, you'd think to maintain consistency, that same crowd would smear him. But no, he's not smeared because it's not about Jew hatred. It's about adherence to the Israel First doctrine, to fund Israel's aims and territorial aspirations, which Trump does gives him immunity from those kind of critiques. So yeah, Glenn is right.
And this idea, and also the Strait of Hormuz, Trump himself said at the beginning out of frustration, look, if you're not willing to go to a war with Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz, we don't have to do it. We don't need the Strait of Hormuz, which is true. We don't get oil from the Strait of Hormuz. China does, and the Gulf states need the Strait of Hormuz to sell oil. But Trump is in bed with these Persian Gulf dictators. He loves them too. They're extremely rich. They have a kind of shared aesthetic with this very ostentatious, gold-laden kind of, wealth expression. He loves them. His family's in bed with the Persian Gulf states, and he's very close to them. He listens to them, and obviously to Israel. And I don't think these are good things for our country. Why are we prosecuting a war that's harming Americans for the benefit of Israel or these Persian Gulf dictators? And on the question of China, opening up the Strait of Hormuz is far more in China's interest than ours. The problem is that the only reason the Strait of Hormuz is closed is because the United States joined Israel in attacking Iran. It was perfectly open, the Strait of Hormuz was, prior to this war, for forever. It's only closed now because it was a response to the attack on Iran. And I think the rest of the world is like, you caused this problem. It's your responsibility to fix it. And I think it's a reasonable view for most countries to have.
Yeah, absolutely. That was caused as a direct result of this war, yet it's become a new war aimed to open the Strait of Hormuz. But that's a problem caused by the war itself, making it ever more clear how preposterous it was to launch this war for Israel's sake. Glenn's right about the energy dynamics too. It doesn't stop the world oil and gas prices from skyrocketing that it's closed. Americans are noticing that at the pump, opening up yet another Pandora's box of problems for Trump and people that don't necessarily follow U.S. foreign policy on a day-to-day basis like you and I, people that just have to fill up their tanks. They have to buy food and supplies, and they see that inflation. The recent report going back up to 3.8% isn't helping Trump, and that is hiding a lot of the actual inflation, which the CPI does. Look, this is a disaster. The nuclear weapons threat has always been a farce. All the U.S. intelligence agencies have said they never had a nuke. Trump originally said, hey, we're going to have negotiations to create a new agreement with the Iranians to stop enrichment above, nuclear power and medicinal grade. But of course, they switched that on a dime, colluding with Netanyahu, deciding to bomb the Iranians instead, and switching from a negotiated settlement of, hey, let's make a new JCPOA, to the ultimatum of you can't have nuclear enrichment at all, a poison pill designed to tank negotiations. And ever since then, it shifted to all sorts of other pie-in-the-sky utopian notions that they can't extract from the Iranians. Like, you can't have ballistic missiles, you can't have a navy, you can't support the proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas. All these things that weren't designed to cause a settlement, with the Israelis trying to tank any future settlement.
It does make you wonder, though, if we did just pack up and go home, would China swoop in and just make them open it? What if we really did just say, yeah, sorry, but we're out. We did break the thing at Pottery Barn, and we're not going to pay for it. We're just going to walk out of the store. Like, good luck getting us. I mean, it would be kind of interesting. And I'm so in favor of just wrapping it up for so many reasons. That's very tempting to me. Probably the Chinese are much better positioned to make the Iranians open it than we are, since they're a big customer. I don't know. It seems like something we should have on the table.
Well, I think what would happen is Iran would just say China is more than welcome to use the Strait of Hormuz because of the power relationship, because they buy so much oil from Iran, from that area. And the Chinese do have a lot of power and leverage with Iran, but they could charge for pretty much everybody else. And they could do it on a country by country basis. Remember, Iran is not closing the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is closing the Strait of Hormuz for the United States, for people they don't want using the Strait of Hormuz and charging for the rest. The United States is the one that has a blockade on any ships going to or from Iran. So it's the United States that's blockading the Strait of Hormuz from the Chinese perspective, not the Iranians. So if the Americans went home tomorrow, like you said, which I think we should do, because there's no benefit in continuing this war or anything else, it's only harming Americans, the Chinese would be fine. They do a lot of business with Iran. Iran would perfectly allow them to use the Strait of Hormuz under whatever commercial terms the Chinese are comfortable with. This war is serving nobody's interest other than Israel's.
Yeah, that's exactly right. If the U.S. cut its losses and run, which I still hope happens, I'm not banking on that. I think it's equally possible for that to happen and an escalation. But at the same time, if that happened, the strait would reopen naturally with kind of the world balance shifting back to the status quo. But with the worse result for the United States, Iran and Oman in control of the Strait of Hormuz, now charging tolls where no charging tolls was taking place before this war. The Chinese wouldn't be affected necessarily. They are being affected now, but it's just disastrous to keep this thing going. And Trump is feeling all sorts of pressure from the Israel lobby to keep this thing going, displace, dislodge, and eradicate the regime. But we can't do that. We haven't done that after depleting a huge supply of ballistic missiles. Short of, I don't know, an H-bomb detonation or 1 million troops on the ground maybe being able to depose that regime, we won't do that. But the American people have no stomach for that. That's the most disastrous scenario that could unfold, and there's no benefit to this war. Trump was sold a lie by the Israelis. They told him, hey, this will just be like Maduro, the Maduro raid. You'll get in there, you'll decapitate the supreme leader, decapitation strike, and then the protesters would rise up and overthrow the government. But it was a whole mountain of lies designed to be sold to get the U.S. into this thing, whereas what they really did was the decapitation strike had a rally around the flag effect, much like it would in the United States if that had happened to a U.S. president.
And yes, there's animosity now in Saudi Arabia and the Emiratis and the in Bahrain and with the Qataris, because Iran attacked those countries, and they attacked those countries because the U.S. used military bases in them to attack Iran. They would work that out. They don't want regional conflict. They don't want to go to war with Iran. Iran's a huge country. So everybody would be fine if we left tomorrow except one country, and that country's name is Israel. That's the reason why Trump can't get out.
Yes, correct. And that's the reason why Trump got in, and it's the reason why he can't get out. And it's one of the reasons why Americans are more disapproving of Israel now than ever. And that's not anti-Semitism. That's something called policy, Benjamin Netanyahu, and time after time in which they've pulled us into their fight. I mean, just the most recently, twice in the last year, June, and now again with this war.
Yeah, I think Megyn's right. She seems to be coming around to these facts that dissidents, libertarians, good anti-war leftists, good anti-war rightists have laid out for a long time. That's exactly what this is. It's a so-called vassal state that seems to be ruling the actual vassal state in this context, that being the United States. The world empire is more or less influenced more heavily in the direction of pro-Israel by Israel than Israel is led in the direction of being pro-America. This war isn't pro-America, and Glenn Greenwald made an excellent point early on in this podcast when he said, hey, there's a striking hypocrisy here, and it's not that this is just being done in a vacuum. It's being done by a presidency that made its chief cornerstone of its platform America first. And then you have Trump sitting down with Sean Hannity, one of the most pro-Israel zealots in the entire corporate media, and admitting what we all know, that this war is for Israel. It's for the Saudis. It's for UAE. Notice that Americans weren't even thought to be mentioned in that statement, in that sentence, because we don't benefit from it. So Trump had a mask down moment. He admitted the truth. If anyone else had said this that was a critic of Israel, they'd be smeared as an anti-Semite, including Jewish critics of Israel. But because it's Trump, that he's bankrolled this Israel first war, standing alongside Ben Shapiro and Lindsey Graham and Mark Levin, he gets a pass. So do all the other pro-Israel zealots in the United States that happen to, learn the truth for a second and admit the truth, I should say, and say, hey, this is being done for Israel. They get a pass too, because it isn't about Jew hatred. It isn't about stereotypes against Jews. It's whether or not you support Israel. So every time you hear about this explosion of anti-Semitism, they never wonder, well, how much of that is a result of Israel's genocide in Gaza, and how much of that is not anti-Semitism at all. It's just propaganda to smear critics of Israel that see the truth, that see that this foreign country is being prioritized by their criminal government above them, above the electorate, above many people that supported Trump. And this sinking ship called MAGA gets worse and worse. I have predicted on this show that his approval ratings will sink into the 20s, high 20s. I believe that he has gone down with the ship, and it's really more or less a sunken ship at this point, with so many people breaking off. handing the Democrats 2026. He's essentially colluding with AOC and Gavin Newsom right now. If you're a Trump supporter and want to talk down to Gavin Newsom and AOC, no one's helping them more than Trump is right now through the stupid war, through the Epstein cover-up, through refusing to abide by his best campaign pledges, and that's what you're seeing from this administration. But what do you guys think? Do you think Glenn and Megyn are right about this? Is it just Israel that sucked us into this? Was this a striking admission by Trump? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hype the video if you have the potential to do that. And if you like this breakdown, please consider joining as a YouTube member. You can do that by clicking the join button down below. And doing that gets you immediate access to all my videos before they go live to the general public on YouTube. I really appreciate your support if you do become a member. And also, if you want a free copy of my first book, Compact of the Republic, click the link in the description down below. That'll send you out to a website. Just plug in your email right there, and I'll send you a full free copy of that book. No obligations whatsoever. And like I always say, I have a few demands from this sinister Israel first, Epstein-class, corrupt, vile, blood-soaked maniac regime, and I won't apologize for them. No more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.